So here's what I want to know about the Kathleen Kennedy situation. We'll just have like a conversation about this, right? I guess, it's all starting to kind of get out there a bit. I saw Geeks and Gamers covered it. I saw Jeremy talking about it a little bit, which, by the way, open invitation to Jeremy if he wants to hit me up. I tweeted at him, or I replied under his post, and I said, I think we should talk about this on live stream. It's totally up to Jeremy if he doesn't want to do it or whatever. But I think it would be kind of interesting because Jeremy and I actually have a history with this exact topic and sort of talking about this way back in the day. We did some live streams. I made a video about the Fandom Menace. Interestingly enough, within that video, I pulled this clip of Jeremy from a live stream. And a lot of people got mad at me because they said it was like a gotcha, or like I pulled out like a really selective clip or whatever, which, it's kind of ironic because I think nowadays Jeremy like really leans into grifting from what I understand. So like I think he would actually even more so appreciate the point I was making back then now, and we could actually have a conversation about it. But like, so I saw a clip of Jeremy where he talked about how he had Kathleen Kennedy in the thumbnail and in the title for a stream that was talking about Star Wars. And somebody was like, somebody in his chat was something like, I don't think Kathleen Kennedy has anything to do with this. And Jeremy literally says in the stream, and I think I still have the video. Jeremy literally says in his stream, like, yeah, it's called clickbait. Like, I know I put Kathleen Kennedy in there. People are going to click. I know I'm going to do this. What do you want from me? I'm a YouTuber or something like that, right? Which, again, I think nowadays he would be very open to admitting, like, yeah, that's the game. We find the thing. We make a million videos on it. We farm that shit. Like, I think he'd be really willing to admit that and have a conversation about it. The reason that's relevant is because I think a lot of the conversation around Kathleen Kennedy, when you really get into it, if you really want to peel back the layers, and of course I'm discussing, for those unaware, I guess I should just say I'm discussing the sort of emerging narrative that Kathleen Kennedy might not have been the Sith Lord that ruined Star Wars, and in fact, Bob Iger might be the one that takes the majority of the blame. Of course, Kathleen Kennedy is not innocent. She was the president of the company, and she oversaw, I think, the fall of one of the best brands ever, but it's like one of the worst falls ever. So either way, she's not going to come out of this clean. But the point is, actual new information has come to light. I have actual new information from a very reliable source, and I'm personally reinvestigating a lot of the things that I've said and the thoughts I've had about what's been going on with Star Wars. And the point that I'm making, to take it all the way back to Jeremy, is that it literally did become a thing algorithmically that if you blamed stuff on Kathleen Kennedy, you would get clicks. That didn't last, but it certainly was a moment. And a lot of people cashed in on that moment. And just like Brie Larson, and just like some of these other people, like, the crime doesn't necessarily, or the punishment doesn't necessarily fit the crime. That's internet shit. Like, you can't really control that. Like, sometimes something you do, you become a lol cow, or, the internet narrative takes hold of something. And I certainly know, I've been on all sides of that, right? So I know what that's like. But for the sake of transparency, I think it's maybe important to just maybe actually admit that there was a moment where people leaned in to the narratives around Kathleen Kennedy for the sake of clicks, content, and clout. And I guess it's up to you to decide, was that deserved? How much of that was, how bad should those people feel? Should they apologize at all? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, the context of all of that is kind of like subjective. The way you make sense of it is up to you. But I think at the very least, like, I guess for navigating, I'm trying to navigate the whole situation, right? I'm just trying to like figure out the truth, Now, a lot of people ask me, right, why didn't you know this before? Or like, why didn't your source ever bring this up before? Right. And I think that's fair. Maybe some of you in chat could let me know if that's sort of a question you had or something you were sort of feeling with the whole situation. I think that's totally fair. The truth is, I was told this many fucking times over the last many years. But it was never presented to me in such a way as to allow me to really sit with what it was overall. Now, maybe some of that's because it all hadn't happened yet, right? I mean, think about it. We're talking about since really 2014, you're talking about 10 years, basically 8 years of hard news covering all of this stuff. And I was front row for the whole thing. I started the channel right around the time that the acquisition was happening, Force Awakens, etc. Right? So I've been here for basically the whole thing. I've had a front row seat to it. Yeah, so to me, it's about reinvestigating that. And I think ultimately a lot of the stuff that I heard over the years does sort of play into why I'm now reconsidering things, because it isn't as simple as, oh, your source just turned all of a sudden and told you all this stuff. No, the more I think about it, many voices over many years tried to make this point. So I don't know exactly what to do with that. I mean, I fucked that up, basically is what I'm saying. Like, I think it was, and what is that? Like, what does that mean? Did I, was I stubborn? Did I just not see it? Did I not believe certain people? Was there not enough evidence right in front of me? Was I partial to Iger? I don't know. I had been told various things throughout the years about this situation, and I had sort of looked past it. I couldn't really believe it, and it was just never presented to me in a way that was like very clear. I was like, oh shit, like this is actually what happened. So that's that. I will also say this. I had a tweet the other day where I said, hey, anybody know some shit? Anybody want to talk some shit on Bob Iger? DM's open. Guys, you would be shocked at how many people hit me up with various stories. By the way, also shocking to me that some very high-profile people watch this stream because I'm so fucking bad at this. I don't understand that at all. But thank you. I guess sometimes I do better than others, so maybe it's more watchable sometimes. But either way, I got hit up by a lot of people, some really interesting people, some really high-profile people. And of course, this is all with the understanding that I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to put anybody out to dry or anything like that. I'm going to be chill. I'll tell you one additional thing that's kind of interesting here, and then I would like to know what you guys think, okay? I got it confirmed by a couple of different people that the parks themselves, when the parks were being constructed for Star Wars, were literally breaking ground where Disney, Star Wars, match made in heaven, the parks is the whole thing, Star Wars parks. And how many of us have been critical of them for what they did in the parks? Throw a one into the chat if you've been a person that's been critical of the Disney handling of the Star Wars integration into the Disney theme parks. I don't know. Anybody got an opinion on that? Right. Where do you think this is going? I have it on pretty good authority from multiple people that Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm wanted all eras of Star Wars represented in the parks. They wanted all of Star Wars to be celebrated, and we're drawing up plans that maybe I've even seen for a more fan-forward Star Wars park situation. And it's just one more, really. But, damn. Yeah. That's not true. Okay, Dave does that. I will believe. I'm going to just choose to believe. Not my vetted sources. Not the very high profile people in that hit me up and put their career on the line. Just so that I would trust, you know what I mean? To trust me. I'm going to trust, what's this guy's name? Dave something or other? I'm going to trust Dave something or other in the chat. 100%. He's right. I don't know what I'm talking about. Zero sources. It's not true. But of course it is true. And it is an additional thing that's kind of hard to sit with for me. And I do wonder if we'll ever be able to get to the point, because by the way, too, I'm not gonna make any friends by bringing this up. Do you know what I mean? It's not a popular opinion. I think there's going to be people that find it interesting for sure, but like there's going to be a lot of people that, like, I've already seen the pushback to this whole idea, this whole thing, right? And it's like, whatever. I don't really give a fuck. I'm more interested in like, what is the actual truth and what do I know and what am I reporting? And that's it. That's what I'm going to stand on my business. And I'm just telling you that, like, if you ever thought, because, you know, there was some interesting things that people said to me when they hit me up. And little things like this, where I take a stand insofar as, hey, look, this isn't popular, but this is what it is, have actually endured the content to some people. There's some people out there that really appreciate the fact that I will die on this fence and that I'm always willing to reinvestigate how I feel and change how I feel about things when new information comes in. And I just try to be fair and accurate. You know, I think I'm also a total fucking goofball, which maybe undermines the credibility of the journalistic integrity or whatever, you know, and that's fine. I can live with that. I am what I am. You know, I am a shyster. Mr. JB, thank you for 5 gifted memberships, brother. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's certainly been a week, man. I've been really sitting with this and I've been thinking about it. I've been kind of like turning it over in my head here and there. You know what I thought would be interesting if you guys are wanting to do this. We don't have to do this now because there's news. Maybe we could save this for later on in the stream. But so I found an interview. Many of you have probably seen this. Okay, let me pull this up. If you watched the video yesterday, you probably noticed I spliced in a little interview with George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy. Okay? And it's this interview here. And this, if you recall, was a big interview that was put out 12 years ago. 12 years. 12 years. This was right around the time of the announcement of George's retirement, of Kathleen stepping into the role, taking over the company, and the Disney acquisition. And there's a 3-part interview. They're not long. I think it's like about 10, 15 minutes of video overall. There's a 3-part interview with George and Kathy talking about this. And I swear to God, man, I swear to God, I watched this yesterday with the new context of everything, okay? And I'm not even kidding. I got emotional. Okay? Because, look, it's all silly games. It's all fun. We're on the internet. You know, we're not supposed to gaff, right? You're not really supposed to give a fuck on the internet. But I watched these interviews with the new context in mind, and I got emotional. Because I think George loved this lady. I think this lady loved George. And I think when you watch the interview and you really think about everything that happened since then, again, this was 12 years ago, it is just one of those things that you see in a completely new light. And for my part, I was like, damn. You know, not that I care or give a fuck because it's the internet and I'm cool. But at the same time, I would, you know, maybe when nobody's around, consider watching these interviews again. And just think about everything that's happened. Think about how the internet can spin things into clickbait gold. At the very least, I think it's worth reconsidering some of the sort of harsh stances that we take on these things. I know I will. And man, I got really mean towards Kathleen Kennedy a lot recently, and that will certainly change. You know, I don't know that the entire conversation will change. I don't know that Star Wars will be saved. I don't know that anything actually changes. That's the other part that kind of sucks, is that I don't know that it even matters. Almost feels like the damage is done. But for my part, in every moment, every conversation, every place that my platform comes into contact with the Kathleen Kennedy story, there will be a new context. I have a new company line when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy. So that's all. That's all I got to say on that.